In this week's Fresco Tip Friday, I'm going to show you how to make a cool, gritty, textured type treatment using brushes that are available in Adobe Fresco and fonts that are available in Adobe Fresco. You don't need anything else. All right, let's go over to the iPad. No messing around. We got some punk rock letters to make. So the first thing we need is some type. So I'm going to go over here and grab my type tool, tap on the screen, pull up the keyboard, and let's just type the word sick in all caps, because this is going to get sick. So I'm going to click on Style Text, I'm going to highlight it, and then let's make it big as we can. And for this kind of thing, I like to choose something bold and simple, but you can choose whatever you want. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, let's do Gibson. That's nice and fat. What I'm going to do is just scale this up nice and big. And you'll see that it's saying the layer is too large. We can get around that by just going to convert to pixel layer, because we don't need it to be type anymore anyway, and we're gonna have to do this step anyway. So now that it's a pixel layer, we can make it a little bit bigger. I'm just trying to make it about the size of the document. And I guess I should say I'm working pretty large here. This document is about 4,000 pixels by 4,000 pixels. I like to work pretty large, that way the texture looks real. When you start to have a lower resolution, you don't have as much pixel information, so it can start to just not look as crispy, if you will. So what I'm going to do now is make a selection using the magic wand tool, which is within the selection tools. So click on the magic wand, and then I'm just going to select each of these letters. Then I'm going to turn off that layer and make a new layer, and then I'm going to go in and grab a textured brush. So if you don't have any good ones that you like, I recommend going to add brushes, and then you can go to discover new brushes, and then you can just grab any one of Kyle Webster's brushes in here. If you look for the dry media set, there's lots of great options there for texture. To keep things simple, I'm just going to go and use these because these are readily available to be instantly added to your Fresco if you're using the premium version of Fresco. So I'm going to hit done because I already have mine added. And now I'm going to go to my dry media. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the soft pastel tooth. And now with this selected and on a new layer, I can come in and draw in this texture. And you can push as light or as heavy as you want until you get like the right sort of texture that you're going for. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit deselect. And now you'll see that we've got these sort of perfect clean edges. We want to break those up a little bit to make it look more authentically textured and rugged and gritty and vintage, if you will. Okay, so I'm going to come back into the dry media brush folder, and I'm going to look for this one, the Conti Pencil Rough. And this one, we just do like a little test here. You can see it's got like a nice broken edge to it, but I don't want to draw with it. What I want to do is use it as an eraser to roughen up this edge. So to use it as an eraser, I'm going to double tap on my modifier. You'll see the blue in the middle. That means we can now use it as an eraser. So I'm just going to come in here and just mess up the edge a little bit so it's not perfect. Just break up that clean edge. Can press pretty lightly with this brush. You can see we get a nice sort of imperfect edge. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to all the letters. So I will go into hyper speed mode so that you don't have to watch me do this to every single letter. Okay, so now I've messed up all the edges of my letters. It's looking a little bit more authentic. So what I like to do now is just go ahead and shift the baselines a little bit of these letters and just make it so it's a little bit more imperfect. So I'm going to go into the selection tools, and now I'm just going to grab the rectangle selection tool, then grab the S to start, switch over to the transform tool, maybe rotate it a little bit, and just move it, deselect that, maybe we'll grab the C. And if you accidentally don't select the whole thing, you can actually just make another selection and it'll grab that extra area. Maybe move this over a little bit back that way. Then we'll do the same for the K. and you're sort of just trying to make it look imperfect without it having that sort of like, I don't know. We don't want to make it look like a goofy kids thing. We just want it to look like it's not perfect. I think maybe the C can come up a little bit. I think it's a little too perfect. Okay, so I like to do one more thing after I do this, and that's just add some little overall grit and texture on top of that goes beyond the confines of the letters themselves. So I'm going to go back into the dry media brush set, and I'm going to grab, let's try this rough rowdy variant. So I'm going to do a new layer just in case, so I have more flexibility to mess up a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of lightly go over the letters just to add in like a little bit of smudge, maybe some like overprint. I'm just tapping lightly, just trying to like get a little bit. Let's try, what's the scraper look like? So you could experiment with these other, with, you know, a bunch of the brushes in here. Maybe this little scraper one kind of gives a cool effect. Almost looks like a kind of crease in the letter forms. Let's see what else we got. Dry media rough up. That sounds like what we're trying to do here. So you got to figure out, you know, what the right amount is and like not go too far. But I feel like this is pretty good. Pretty happy with how this looks. So what I can do now is merge this down, and we can get rid of our original type because we don't need that anymore. And if you wanted to make this like a color, if you changed your mind from black, you could just go to lock transparency. And then I have the just like a very simple hard round brush, like just the most simple brush you can use, set to like a huge size, and then I can just come in here and choose a color. So let's say I want red, and then I can just draw over it. And because the transparency is locked, it's just gonna let us color what we have. I think I liked the black, so I'm gonna go back to that. Then you can do one more thing to really set this off, and that's add in like a paper texture. So you could, you know, take a photo or scan in some photo textures, or Retro Supply Co. has a ton of paper textures that you can get. There's a link in the description if you want to check those out. I'll grab this paper texture that I have saved here. I'll rotate this, that. So now we got this gritty texture, and if we set this layer to multiply, you'll see we got some gritty action going on. Pretty cool, right? All right, now you have everything you need to go and make your punk rock album cover or your poster for the show. I guess all you need now is a band. Maybe you have a band. I don't have a band yet. I've always wanted to be in a cool punk rock band, but I think that ship has sailed. Anyway, hope you found this helpful. Remember that there's a new Fresco tip every Friday, and I have other videos too, so if you're not subscribed, maybe you should subscribe, because I got illustration content coming in multiple times a week right now. All right, good talk. Happy Fresco Tip Friday. Fresco Tip Friday. In this week's Fresco Tip Friday, I'm going to show you how to make a cool, gritty